You're about to listen to an archived episode of The Night Shift with Zeno Horoman. This is brought to you commercial-free by the Surfcast Podcast. If you're interested in more historical, educational, and entertaining surf fishing content, check out weekly episodes of the Surfcast Podcast available today on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and anywhere else you get your podcasts, including www.surfcastpodcast.com.
Welcome back to the Night Shift Podcast. Today, my guest is Wayne Hess from Guppy Laws. Wayne is a long time friend of mine, friend of Surfcasters Journal. He's been with us since the beginning. He's one of the nicest men in the business. I miss him so much with his stupid COVID. I can't wait to see him and give him a hug. Wayne, welcome to the Night Shift Podcast.
Hi, Zeno. Thanks for having me on.
All right, listen, you are one of the dinosaurs because I have to go there because I'm getting old and, people that are older than me are like, you guys have been around for a while. So, I'm going to start straight up. Like, what is your background as far as fishing? Never mind, we'll get to Guppy Laws, but how did you get into fishing? Did you grow up around water? Was that like a family thing or it's just something that you picked up later?
No, it was a family thing with my dad. He would take us to different trout ponds. There was multiple ponds around where we lived, and we'd just go off for a little bit. And then eventually we started doing a little saltwater fishing. And it just grew from there.
Now, your dad's a big part of your life. I seen him at the show. He still does that?
He doesn't do the shows too much. He offers to, but it's kind of tough for him to get around. He's 92 now, so it's...
Wow.
But he comes to the local ones.
Yeah.
And he just
where was he fishing? Like, what was his thing before you even got into the picture?
He fished with his friend Ernie quite a bit, and they did a lot of freshwater fishing. And then a fella that he was working with mentioned the saltwater thing, and he got into that a little bit, but he didn't have too much success at it for quite a few years. And then we got older and dialed ourselves in and had a ball.
Did you guys all, I know, what do you have, like 7 brothers, right?
6 brothers, yeah.
6 brothers, right. So I know they're not all fishermen, but, I mean, your dad would join you and your brothers down to the canal and stuff like that over the years?
Oh, yeah, all the time. He was
really?
There. If we were there, he was pretty much there, unless it was in the middle of the night, and even then, half the time he'd be there.
Wow. That must be great fishing with some memories that you guys must have.
Oh, especially at the canal. I mean, we just had so many good trips. We were fortunate to be there when the fishing was great.
Yeah, like, okay, so how is this? I'm not a canal guy, and I'm not, especially not a historical. We had some good years in recent years, and I'm not talking these few years, but recent last 10, 15 years. But there was also other periods where it was really good. So, what's considered the best canal years or period? Was it 70s, 80s? I clue me in because I don't know anything about it. Let's say I don't know anything about it.
Well, up and down. I mean, I wasn't there for it, but the 60s were a big heyday. My dad was there for that, but he was just learning at the time, and he pretty much missed out on the fishing, not really having much knowledge of how to fish the canal. But then in the early 80s, when you were lucky if you got one 36-inch fish, let alone, and that might be the one hit for the night. It was pretty poor. Then in the 90s, a lot of fish came back, and it just got better and better. And when the 2000s came around, it was game on. It was quiet for a while. I mean, nobody really talked about it. And then the cat got out of the bag, but we probably had 4 years of great fishing before the word got out.
Was that a big change in just was that hard to accept?
It was to a point that before it got out, you could go wherever you wanted. And there might be somebody you know in that spot, but you had dozens of spots to hop in and pick them off, and being that I had so many brothers that fished with me that we would just hopscotch each other until we found the mother lode, and it made it a lot of fun, and figuring out how to actually fish each rip was a little different. They're not all the same. Everybody thinks you can just put one lure on and you're good to go. It doesn't work that way if you want to catch numbers of fish.
What is the difference? Like, okay, now that you open this warm box, I mean, I know there's a simplistic way of describing this, but what exactly are you, not to divulge any secrets, obviously in specific spots, but what do you think people miss out on?
That I won't say everybody, but I feel that a lot of them get locked into, like, they'll see people catching them, we'll just say on the Magic Swimmer or the Stick Shed. And they think that's the go-to lure. Well, to be successful in that place, you have to be able to fish that whole water column and know what that lure is doing, why it's down there. You just, with that type of current, you have to move around a little bit with the lure. A perfect example is when you get there, don't go crashing down the banking. Just take your time, get down there, try not to make too much noise, and put on a shallow running lure, because sometimes, some nights, those fish are 8 feet off the banking. And if you put like a lure that only goes 18 inches under, you can pick those fish off first. And then as the tide gets running, they slide out into the rip a little further, and now you got to go to something that's 10 or 12 feet down.
Now, I assume that I'm going to go back to the Magic Swimmer for a minute, but I'm going to assume that the good part of the crowds, if there's a good part, okay? But I do feel there's a good part. This is my personal opinion, not necessarily yours. But the good part of all these people that found that is all these friendships that you made over the years. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if I would trade myself. I'm talking personally about my spots. I don't know if I would trade. Some people would. I don't know if I would trade the anonymity and just being alone to all the people that I met, let's just say Montauk or somewhere else over the years. Because, I know you are one of the friendliest guys in the world, and you sure met a lot of people fishing in Canal.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. And like you say, I mean, a lot of friendships. It's just amazing that the people before they didn't even know I made lures. It was just through fishing that we met, and great friendships. And some remarkable fishermen that figured that place out in about a week.
Yeah, well, you're always going to have people like that, and people like that are a lot of fun to have around, just watching them do their thing.
And the other good thing is, I mean, they have ideas that you don't typically think of, that from their area that they carry into your area, and vice versa. You go to their area and you do something a little different, and it's just, I don't know why, but you just miss it. That idea doesn't pop into your head, and you're like, wow. So it's another thing in your arsenal, which is great.
I agree with you. I think most of us that are locals to whatever that place is local, I might be local to one place, you to another, I'll have a very hard time accepting new stuff because we know what works. And then, when we got our clocks cleaned, most of the time is when we accept that something else works. And, this kind of leads me into the Magic Swimmer. It's not something that you make, but it is a lure that's probably more popular in the canal than any other place on the East Coast. And it's also probably, I wasn't there for this time, a lure that was used at one time that nobody wanted to use because they thought it was maybe a stupid thing, right? I mean, there had to be a time when somebody brought that first.
Oh, I'll tell you, I was one of the stupid people only because I said, I am not paying $36 for that lure. There is no way I'm paying that kind of money. But that lure just crushed fish. Not a little bit at night, but first light and into the daylight, those fish could not stay off of that lure. I don't care. You could be blindfolded and be throwing that lure and you are going to hook up. It's just an incredible lure.
Why you think that is? Was it emotion? Was it the size? Was it, something had to be.
It checked all the boxes.
All the boxes.
You could cast it up current and get movement out of it, which is very difficult to do in the canal at certain part of the tides, to get the right movement where they would actually chase that lure down. You know, they wouldn't just swipe at it. They wanted it, and they were going to get it no matter what. And it was exciting to fool around with that lure. It was to see how many fish you could, if you took the hooks off it and threw it, you would be we did it a few times with my brothers, and you would just be cracking yourself up because the fish would be twisting themselves in knots trying to get that thing down their mouth.
Yeah, and then eventually, if I remember correctly, that lure was rebranded, redesigned by Penn or whatever, and the price was dropped quite a bit later. At least I think, no? Wasn't that the case?
Yeah. Yes, for sure. Yeah. It's half the money now.
Yeah. Listen, I mean, it's a supply and demand kind of thing. I don't know exactly what happened at that. Now, let's go back to why we have you here. Obviously, the start of Guppy Lure Company, or, you starting to make your own lures. There was a reason for it, and I believe Hog Hunter Lures played a big part in this, right?
They did, yep. Brad Polar, he was a very popular canal plug builder down he started making them in the 70s, and then he kind of slowed down a little bit, and then in the 80s he got after it pretty good. And it was funny how it came about is yellow pencil poppers were very, very difficult to find at the time. And I just happened to see him come out of his truck with 4 of them in his hand, and I'm like, where the heck did he get these lures? I finally found them down in Connecticut, but you could not find them on the Cape to save your life. And that's how I met him. I'm like, hey, where are you getting the lures? And he said, I make them. And that became the friendship. And unfortunately, he passed away suddenly. And there was a big void in the lure making of my brothers and I decided that we were going to make them for ourselves. And that's how it all started. Because I had my sons, my father, and 3 of my other brothers. So there was a small army of us. But we had no intentions of selling them at the time.
What was so special about his plugs that you wanted to make similar plugs?
It wasn't that his plugs were famous because they were $7.
Okay.
And they caught fish. And what a lot of people don't realize with Brad is how he was a diabetic, and that's eventually what got him. But he couldn't hardly even see. I don't know how he could even make lures. It boggled my mind when I found out how bad he really was, that he could even put a piece of wood in the lathe and come out with anything that resembled a pencil popper, let alone the pieces that he had. And he hand painted them all himself, and God bless him.
And what was the progression from making the lures for yourself, which I'm sure were very crude in the beginning, but good enough for you to catch fish, to selling them to people?
You got the crude part right. I look at some of them that I had stashed away, and I look at them and I go, who the hell would buy this?
Well, I think every plug builder says that. Come on.
You know? Yeah, no, I mean, and it caught fish, and it was kind of comical because at the time the only color I made was pink with the white belly, and we caught plenty of fish on it, my brothers and I. And a couple people are saying, what are you guys using? That's how it all started. Like, I'm sure with Donnie Musso and the rest of the gang, that's how it comes about. People say, well, make me 3 or 4 of them.
I think for most builders, honestly, from most stories that I heard, is exactly the same pattern, is that they made something for themselves that they couldn't buy or couldn't find, or it was too expensive, or it was the guy didn't make them anymore, and then somebody asked them to make the few, and but again, to be fair, to go from making a few for friends and even selling few out of the back of your car, which I assume is what you did in the beginning.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Going from there to commercial building plugs, it's a big it's a big learning curve, and it's a big undertaking.
It is. I was fortunate, that it was somewhat of a family affair. With my brothers jumped in. My dad was helping us when we first started. It was.
Even your mom was on it.
My mom, my sister.
That's right.
My mom, when I first started, every mackerel lure, she put the markings on it. She would sit there for hours, God bless her. And she loved doing it. And it was comical. She'd do the mackerel, and she would bag every lure.
There were certain people that were big parts of your education process, correct? That everybody needs to have a little help from the friends.
Oh, it never would have happened without friends. Donnie Willis from the Canal, who was very close with Brad from Hog Hunter Lures. The misconception was that everybody thought that we bought out Hog Hunter Lures, which we really didn't. We just bought the equipment, and Brad had a silent partner that he still has the jigs and everything for Brad's lures. And it was actually my brother Peter and my son Joey that came up with the design that we still use today of the shape of the lures.
Okay, well, the pencil poppers that you make are obviously different than most of them on the market, and the flat bottom's always considered the Cape Cod Canal special or whatever. What's so special? Or I should rephrase that. How would somebody who's looking to buy a pencil popper, how would they pick the pencil popper perfect for where they fish? Well, because you make all kinds of pencil poppers, right? You make the regular style, you make the canal style. Tell me the difference. Like, what's the application where?
The kind of the myth with the flat bottom is that it has to be used in the canal, and it was designed in the canal, but when Stan Gibbs came out with that, he used it all over the place. He was a big beach fisherman, and you could ride that plug on the back of the wave and it would move all over the place. And that's what I tell people at the shows. I go, don't get locked in and you think you can only use this at the canal, because it's not just for the canal. Now, the big loaded plugs will not work on the beach. And that's the first question I ask the people is, What are you going to use it for? What size is your rod? Where do you like to fish? And some people cannot answer it. And it's a problem because you're spending a lot of money for these lures. And I hate to see you buy a 3.5 ounce lure and you've got a 9-foot rod that won't handle it. You just spent $30 that you're going to end up selling it to somebody else. So if you know what your rod can handle and where you like to fish, I can dial it in so that, say, you need A, B, and C, and, we won't even talk about colors because that would take a week.
We will, but not in that sense. Not in that sense, because we'll be here till whatever the cows come home or whatever they say. Who else? I think also Ryan was a big part of helping you with the paint, right?
Actually, with the paint, it was Don Williams.
Okay, from Big Don Lures, right?
Yes, yeah.
He was in Pennsylvania, I believe, right?
Yep, and I never got to meet him. We talked a lot, but he was a huge help to me as far as the painting. And then through the shows, I met Ryan Smith, and we got to talking about he uses this, I use that, what do we use for undercoatings, and the both of us dialed each other in with different ideas, and obviously the paint airbrush work that Ryan can do on a lure is just phenomenal.
He is talented, I'll give him that.
Oh man, is he ever.
Now, what is the most challenging part? What did you find is the most challenging part of the learning curve when you were making plugs? Because there was a lot of bando involved, and let's not lie about this.
Yeah. Yep, it was right out of the gate. It was the through wire hole. It drove me crazy. I tried so many different ways of trying to get that hole lined up and talk to different people, buy this tool, buy that. And I had an old shop when I lived in another house, and that garage door had so many dents in it from me winging that plug across on that lathe. It just... When my brother Peter said, you should have brought that door with you when you moved. He goes, because that's more famous than the plugs. But
how did you figure this out? Was there somebody that or was it like trial and error that you kind of figure out your own system?
I kind of figured it out, but at one of the shows, East End Lou, I don't know if you're familiar with him.
Oh, sure.
I mentioned to him how I struggled with it, and he goes, well, you won't struggle anymore. And 2 weeks later, I get this beautiful aluminum jig in the mail, and it solved all my problems.
He is a wonderful guy. I heard he helped a lot of people. It was very given. I'm not into plug scene, but I always heard that about him.
Yep, he's a great friend. Great friend.
Well, what does Triple Tail has to do with a guppy lure names, and how was the guppy lure actually named? How did you come up with that?
When Brad was alive, he would give me unpainted bodies so that I could practice painting. I'll paint my own colors, whatever we were coming up with. And so he would give me like a half a dozen bodies, and I would paint them, and I would stick the Triple Tail decal on the plugs. That's how it started. And give them to my brothers, and they would fish them, and they would know that because of the decal that it was one that I had painted. And when we went into business, they said, well, what are we going to call it? I goes, we're going to call it Guppy, just like the decal.
I guess that made sense. I mean,
and my
seriously.
brothers said, no way. I goes, people aren't going to care what the name is if the plug catches fish. They could care less.
It's actually kind of a cool name when you think about it. You know what I'm saying? Maybe the first time that you hear it, you go like guppy. But now, guppy is synonymous. Actually, to be fair, guppy is synonymous with quality, which is a big thing that you guys done over the years. Like you go to the extreme lengths for consistency in your plug. You've been known for this, right? I mean, this is a big deal with you.
This was probably the hardest and most expensive part of the lure building because it took a lot of money to dial it in so that you could be consistent. And when somebody bought a 3-ounce lure, if they bought 5 of them, they would be as close as you could possibly make them as far as casting and the action on them. And it takes a lot of time, and there's formulas involved and the right wood. It's not as simple as people think it is.
Hey, listen, it's not, because I spoke to Dave Anderson today, who obviously is a good friend of yours, and he's like, Guppy has one of the most rigorous and stringent building process of lures you'll ever find. And you usually don't find those kind of words when it comes to plug builders, because get off the late, soak it, paint it, shove it, sell it, done. But I also been in your shop and I've seen the way, whatever you allow me to see, the way the stuff gets done. So I do commend you on it. And I mean, this is a known fact. This is something that people have said over the years. You don't need to sell this to people. This is what other people say of consistency of your plugs.
And it's not all my ideas. I mean, my brothers had a big part in this. It's not just me. If it wasn't for them, there wouldn't be a Guppy Lures, I can tell you that right now.
What about it's funny because I've said this in this podcast probably a dozen times already. New Jersey guys get a bad rap. It doesn't matter where they go. First of all, they're loud as shit. Okay, we all know that. However, they are very good fishermen. Okay, and they fish hard. Doesn't matter if they're Montauk or they're on their own jetties or they come to the Cape Cod Canal. They have a good nose for where the fish is, and they are always there. And to some extent, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong here, they have helped you actually spread the gospel of Guppy, from the canal down the coast.
For sure. There's no doubt about that. I mean, long before we started doing shows all over the place, those guys were bringing their plugs back to Jersey and throwing them in the surf, and they would shoot me a message or sometimes pictures of what they were catching, and it caught on. And that never would have happened. And I'll be honest with you, because I had no reason to go to New Jersey with the fishing we had up here. People ask, well, have you fished here? Have you fished there? No, I didn't. We didn't have to. We had no desire to leave the canal because the fishing was so good.
The funny thing is that, and this is my personal opinion, some people might disagree, some not. I find that the Jersey guys are great for that, to spreading the love. And a lot of New York guys will just can you make me eight of these plugs and don't tell anyone about it? You know what I'm saying? So, like Steve Campbell was, and a lot of those guys in those days, they weren't going to help you sell anything. You just had to make it for them, and I think that game has changed quite a bit over the years.
No, and I respect that. I mean, for years, it was a known thing on the canal that you hammered the fish. The first thing you did before you went up to banking was put a different lure on your rod.
Right.
Well,
first of all, you are an extremely good fisherman, okay? Besides being a good lure maker. A lot of people probably don't know that about you, but I do. And you have something like 35, 49-pound bass and not one that's 50. I'm just breaking your balls. But I do know you have a lot of 49s, don't you?
Yeah, some people think it bothers me. It doesn't faze me at all. I mean, yeah, I caught a lot of big fish, but I just, like I said to Dave Anderson when we first met, I says, when them fish come down that canal, I want to catch every single one of them if I could. I don't want to kill every single one of them, but my goal is to catch as many as I can when they come by. And
I kind of feel the same way when you get into it. Like, there's not a fish in that school that I don't want to catch, and then I want to let it pass by. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And it's
let's go back to something that you said you don't want to talk about it, and I don't, because be here for 3 days. What is the most favorite? What is the let's say the color that you sell the most? Let's start it from there, because I'm kind of curious in that.
The number one seller is the green mackerel.
Interesting, green mackerel. And I assume that's a local selling plug, like Cape Canal is the most sales, right?
Yeah, the wacky mackerel is right there with it, but in honesty, people just hung up on the green, which isn't a bad thing at all.
No. Do you have a preference for your own fishing? What do you like the most?
I go by like the weather with me has a big part of it, and if you know what the bait isn't always mackerel, and if it is mackerel, it might not be big jumbo mackerel. It could be tinker mackerel that are only 6 inches long. And if you want to catch numbers, you have to know that. And if you have an 8-inch plug on, you're going to catch a fish, and you might catch a big fish. But if you have that 6-inch lure on, and those are tinker mackerel, you're going to catch the majority of the fish. And last year was a perfect example of it, that there was a big schools of small mackerel in there, and that 6-inch lure was outfishing all the big lures in numbers wise. Now, I'm not saying that the guys throwing the 7 and 8-inch plugs weren't hooking up. They definitely were, but the sharpies that were throwing that 6-inch plug were doing numbers. So
I'm gonna gather from your answer that you're not a big color guy, personally.
I don't get locked into one color. I fell into that trap years ago, and back when the phenomenon was that yellow plug, and the bait changed from pogies. There was an influx of mackerel on the increase, and it took a while for me to catch on to it, and I missed out on some really good fishing, and I never forgot that, like, man, that's
lesson learned.
Dumbass mistake there, mister.
Yeah, it's amazing. You only think that the kids make mistakes, right? The new kids coming into the sport.
Oh, no. The mistake is if you don't listen to those new kids that are coming in the sport. Now, sometimes it's tough because they think they know it all, but they have some pretty good ideas and outlooks on things that the guy that gets locked into his old ways, if you want to stay sharp, you should pick on some of them ideas that they have.
Speaking of mistakes, what do you consider the biggest mistake that you ever done in plug building? The biggest screw up in the shop.
The biggest screw up in the shop was I was clear coating, and I shouldn't have been clear coating. The weather was too cold. I was going to getting ready for the Berkeley show, and I was behind. I held off because of the weather, and finally said, screw it, I'll do it. And I had the heat up, and which I've learned now, because of the makeup air with the fan on, I was sucking in so much cold air that it hazed the clear coat, and that was a very costly mistake.
What did they look like the next day?
They looked. They were the clear coat was hazy. It wasn't completely clear.
I see.
So on a white or a light color plug, you couldn't pick up on it, but anything that was dark color coated,
it showed right through. Yeah,
it
because the
showed
contrast, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah, I mean, you are considered one of the. I mean, I'm not going to say there's so many talented people out there.
there is.
Let me say that there is really, really a lot of talented artists or painter. But you also you are very good with a brush, and over the years you have really, really gotten really good. I have to give you credit. I mean, you might not think in those terms that you are on par, but I honestly think you're on par with everybody else. Your stuff is really, really good.
I appreciate that. I'm not really big on the fancy type paint jobs.
No, I understand that you don't do the paint, right?
You know, I want my lures aren't really collectible to be thrown at the fish. You know, so
when you go to the shows, right? Like, what do you get out of it? Do you get a gratification out of the customers? Do you want to explain to them what the Guppy Lures is all about? Like, what is your favorite part of doing these shows?
My brothers and I have always loved the shows. The shows are the favorite part of the year.
Okay.
And it's there's a lot of things I love about the shows, but one of the favorite things that I always look forward to is you get the newer fishermen that come in and they have their camera with the pictures and they are like so excited and happy. And it could be a 28-inch fish or a 42-inch fish. They are just so proud and to tell you that they caught that fish on your lure. And to me, that is so special. I don't care whether that fish is 18 inches long. It's just the reaction of that person that caught it. They are just overjoyed, and it makes my day. I love hearing that type of stuff from people. And probably the second most favorite thing that I do is helping somebody that's new to it, that doesn't really know. They want to learn it, but they don't know where to start. And I love explaining to what they have to figure out before they want to spend this kind of money on not just my lure, any lure.
Well, you mentioned this a few times already with the part of the course. So, these lures are fairly, not yours, but all of them in general today are fairly expensive to some extent. Although myself knowing how much work goes into one, I don't necessarily feel it's overpriced. But when someone buys a Guppy lure, what is he buying?
He's buying the best possible lure I can make. And that it's going to match the equipment that he's using. And if he buys one and likes it and comes back and buys the second one is going to be as close as I can make it to the first one. And I think that's what put us on the map. I don't think anything else but that. I think that is what put us on the map, is that they're consistent as I can make them. I mean, I'm not saying other people's aren't. I'm just saying that that's what worked for us. There's tremendous lure builders out there. You
sell only direct now, or do you still sell at the stores?
No, I don't sell at the stores anymore. I kind of winded it down a little bit. So I just have the website, and I put so many up there a year, and when they're gone, I'll have to get them next year.
That's right, because then you go fishing, right?
Right.
What is the address for people? I'm going to put it in the show notes, but what is the web address for finding your lures online?
Guppylure.com.
Guppy Lure, not lures, it's lure.
Lure, right.
Yeah. Okay. And you only put them on once a year, or you put them on as you make them?
As I make them, yeah.
Okay.
So,
now that you're getting like Benjamin Button going backwards and getting younger every year, do you find that this you wanna leave more time for yourself to fish, right? I assume.
I love taking my grandkids fishing and spending time with them. Whether it's some of them aren't big into the fishing, but they like going 4-wheeling out on the beach and all that type of stuff. So,
plus you get as much kick out of them as they get out of you. I mean, those are some great memories made together.
For sure.